morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are joined by three union leaders, Rob Giguere, Chief Executive Officer of Air Canada Pilots Association, Jerry Dias, National President of Unifor, and Tim Perry, Canadian President of the Airline Pilots Association. Each of our speakers will deliver remarks, after which we'll take some questions. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tim Perry.
Good morning, everyone. We called this press conference today to underscore the dire situation facing workers in Canada's travel and tourism industry and call on the federal government to take concrete steps to prevent permanent, long-lasting damage to this sector by providing sector-specific financial support. Canada's travel and tourism industry is a powerful economic driver. It generates $105 billion in economic activity and accounts for 1.8 million jobs. Our global transportation system is crucial to stimulating international trade, tourism, and foreign investment. However, since the onset of the pandemic, workers in Canada's travel and tourism sector have seen unprecedented challenges. Tens of thousands of employees have lost their jobs. Connectivity across our country has either been lost completely or been seriously hampered, and countless businesses have been forced to close. The COVID-19 pandemic has created a crisis in Canada's aviation industry unlike anything seen before, and recovery may be years away. Although the extension of the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy is a positive development for many in our sector, it will not provide the stability that our workers desperately need. To sustain Canada's travel and tourism sector, the Canadian and provincial governments need to take immediate steps to provide direct financial support to the sector, and once approved, ensure rapid testing is widely available. Jerry.
Thank you, Tim. Jobs have been lost. Aircraft have been grounded. Airlines are down 90% of Canadians and international visitors flying. Unifor represents over 15,000 workers within the industry. I feel for our members that work at NAV Canada that were laid off last week, who are air traffic controllers. I think about the customer sales and service agents, the flight attendants, the pilots, our members in maintenance, because we represent workers in all facets of the industry. I first want to start by saying that the federal government has to be applauded for the incredible actions they have taken over the last 7 months. The purpose of this press conference is not to be critical, but it's really to have a discussion about infrastructure and about our airlines and what an economic recovery will look like if, in fact, we don't have strong airlines to lead the way. Now, if we take a look at what our ask is, we first have to take a look at what has already been announced globally. To date, $123 billion have been announced by countries around the world to assist the airline industry. Yesterday, over and above the $123 billion, the U.S. announced another $25 billion to supplement the $55 billion that they had already announced. And if I look at other countries around the world, France and Holland have agreed to give $11 billion to Air France KLM. Italy nationalized Air Italia. American Airlines, out of the first $55 billion that was announced, received $10.6 billion. Singapore has given almost $13.5 billion. The UK, $2.3 billion. Germany, over $14 billion. To date, Canada has contributed $300 million, and it really has been for airport rent relief. We are in dire, dire straits. Air Canada is losing about $15 million a day, is blowing through $15 million a day in cash, or about $450 million over the course of this year. That is completely unsustainable. Air Canada and WestJet alone have laid off and furloughed over 30,000 employees. Our ask today is that the Canadian government do not give Canadian Airlines straight grants, but to offer a 1% 10-year loan of $7 billion. You may ask, where do you come up with the $7 billion? We really got that number if you take a look overall globally what countries with a similar industry are contributing. So if you look at the original $55 billion from the US, that amounts to about $7 billion here in Canada. We are raising this because we know that the existing program, the LEAF program, just isn't working. The existing LEAF program has incredible restrictions, but we also know that getting a loan through the LEAF program is at about 8%, and of course nobody's going to borrow money today at 8%. We lived the Air Canada bankruptcy in 2003. We lived the airline restrictions and challenges during the 08-09 recession. In order for Canada to come through this pandemic, we need a strong airline industry. It's for cargo as well as passenger travel. We think about what the nation depends on. We think about what small communities depend on. So frankly, there's no more time to waste, because at some time or another, the government is going to have to work with us to preserve our national industry. So we are asking for the support today, and we are asking that the government take our proposal seriously. We applaud the government for their contributions to date with CERB and their recent announcements to extend CERB. But we also know that the take-up for the wage subsidy program has been low. Why? Because once again, the incredible restrictions, the costs of the non-taxable benefits. So as the government has modified their positions as we've moved through this pandemic, we're once again asking them to give incredible relief through the LEAF program, make changes to the wage subsidy program, and of course to deal with our national airlines as other nations around the world have. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Rob.
Thank you, Jerry. Canada's air transportation industry is a vital engine. It's a key component of Canada's economy, not just today to see us through the pandemic, but into the recovery and beyond. The airline industry is capital intensive. To try and preserve cash in the absence of meaningful and direct government aid, we've seen airlines cut thousands of jobs, eliminate service internationally and within Canada, parking hundreds of aircraft, and laying off thousands of very highly skilled people. No one knows when, but the recovery can be years away. And make no mistake, decimating this industry today will impede the recovery for Canadians tomorrow and beyond. When the pandemic hit, Canada's airlines and airline employees answered the call. We brought plane loads of PPE home for those on the front line fighting the effects of the pandemic. We brought thousands of Canadians home from around the world. Canada is a trading nation. Our airlines are a critical part of our national supply chain. We carry vital goods and services within Canada and from Canada to the world. In return, we know how important it is to Canadians that we bring goods and services back home and throughout our country. Our mission to do so will be more important than ever in the days and months to come. We need to ensure a strong Canadian airline industry to drive our economy, not just today, but for the long haul. It's about jobs, it's about maintaining a vital industry and future growth when the pandemic ends. We don't want to see Canada's economy stifled by inaction. After 7 months, our government has failed to deliver the required level of industry-specific support. It's left Canadian workers, employers, and travelers with continued uncertainty. That's why we're calling for support today. Germany, Singapore, France, the United States, UK have all given direct support for their airlines. Among the industrialized world, Canada stands alone in its lack of financial support for this sector. Germany over $14 billion, Singapore $13.4 billion, Holland and France $11 billion, UK $2.3 billion, and the US $61 billion to this industry, plus more on the way. To maintain the relative strength and competitiveness and contributions of our industry, a relief program for all Canadian-based carriers should be put in place. The program would need to be competitive in size to other G20 countries and their specific support programs to date. If we wait too long, it will only end up costing more. It will cost us jobs today and tomorrow. It will cost us the ability to maintain the supply chain to the benefit of Canadians, and it will cost Canada its ability to recover and compete. We're 7 months in, and there's still no clear plan or actions taken to provide the sector-specific support to our industry. Canadians deserve better. Tim?
Thanks, Rob. The aviation sector is an essential part of Canada's national strategic infrastructure. Airlines and airports are integral, not just to the Canadian economy, but to the Canadian communities, municipalities, and diverse regions all around Canada that rely upon them. They connect us within Canada, and they connect us to the world. The financial support we are seeking should include a combination of loan guarantees as well as direct financial aid tied to the resumption and maintenance of air service. Funding dedicated to developing and evolving a scientifically sound testing and quarantine plan that ensures everyone's safety. While the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy has provided some level of job protection for employees and others, it is not enough to ensure jobs that the aviation sector provides today will be here tomorrow. In addition to this direct financial support, we are also calling for the government to immediately support access to approved rapid tests for COVID-19. Yesterday's announcement was a good first step, but we need clear leadership on access to these tests and clarity around how they will be deployed. Our government needs to consider solutions that achieve public health objectives in a way that minimize damage to the economic and social well-being of Canadians across this country. This will all be essential to ensuring employee and public safety going forward. Thank you. Over to Jerry.
Thank you. Just to reinforce what we've all been saying, our utmost preoccupation is on safety. It's about the safety of the traveling public. It's about the safety of our members. So nothing we are suggesting has anything but with that in mind. Today we are talking about a plan for how the industry will stabilize, but a plan for what happens when we reach the point where people feel more comfortable traveling. So we really are talking about financial support, we are talking about rapid testing, and we're talking about the solution. The solution may not be in front of us today as we grapple and we fight with the pandemic, but we need to be prepared for when things start to stabilize and we start to move forward. Countless communities are depending on us. We can't wait any longer. The job losses are mounting. The highly skilled workers need answers. Canadians need answers. So we are reaching out to say we need a solution as it relates to one of the most important industries in this country. And with that, I would like to open up for questions.
Your first phone question will be from Chris Reynolds at the Canadian Press.
Thanks very much for inviting us, folks. I had a question for you, Jerry. I'm wondering, well, you mentioned the financial support that has been provided abundantly in various countries abroad, from Singapore to Germany, but we've also seen how those pieces of aid have come with big strings attached. I think the German government now has a 20% stake in Lufthansa. In the case of Air France, KLM, there have been serious emissions targets committed to by the airline. I'm wondering what commitments should be required of airlines who received direct financial support, whether that's relating to workers' rights or to environmental concerns or targets or to government stake in the airline itself.
First of all, we're talking about loans. And clearly the preoccupation has to be for the workers in the industry. And by stabilizing the companies, stabilizing the industry, that should provide the type of security we need for the long term. But there is no question that the preoccupation has to be on the workers that drive the industry. Now, because we have requested loans at 1%, if in fact there is a default on the payments, then the government's going to have to start talking about what they will do. Do they take shares? Do they own a percentage of the company? Those are all the issues that have to be dealt with if in fact there is going to be a default in payments. We would expect there will not be, but there's no question, if in fact there's a default in payment, there's going to have to be penalties in the forms of a percentage of ownership.
I see. One other question for you, if it's possible. The other thing I was wondering about is, as far as staff are protected right now, be it flight attendants or pilots or customer service agents, I'm just wondering, I guess I'm wondering how else what other steps should airlines be taking to either cohort staff or integrate them or protect them beyond measures they've already taken?
I'm having a hard time hearing. I don't know what the two of you, but...
Sorry, I can repeat that a little more
the feedback
slowly.
is... So, look, what I caught of your question is the preoccupation is on safety. Let's not go beyond that portion of the question I believe you asked. It really is about making sure that people don't enter the country that have tested positive for COVID-19. It's about making sure that people are tested even before they come on a plane that comes into Canada. It's about making sure that we have rapid testing in the airports to make sure that it's contained. So everything we're talking about is about protecting Canadians, protecting our members. So the airlines are going to have to invest in the type of rapid testing procedures. And I know, of course, that Air Canada is already doing that at Pearson in the major hubs. So the airlines, if in fact they are committed, which I know they are, to safety, then they're going to have to invest with the governments to make sure that we have a plan for the airports. I think that has to be the preoccupation, but once again, only when it's safe to do so. And I believe based on what I caught of your question, that's what I have to add.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to press *1 if you have a question on the phone. And your next question will be from Camille Frenson, French CBC. Please go ahead.
Hi, my question is in French for Robert Giguere. Is that okay? En français? Pour Monsieur Giguere? Allô? J'avais une question pour savoir, pour Robert Giguere, donc en français, pour...
Mr.
Yeah.
Giguere does not speak French. If you can ask in English, he'd be happy to answer in English.
Oh, okay. I thought he was speaking in French. Okay, so in English, can you just repeat us again what's next for the industry if you don't have the help from Ottawa right now? What will happen?
I'll repeat the question. The question is, what's next for the industry if you don't get the outcome
Yeah,
that you want from
If you
Ottawa?
don't receive the help from Ottawa, what's next?
So I believe the question was, what's next for the industry if there's no assistance?
Yeah,
We're-
there is no assistance.
We're raising the alarm bells today because the industry, the industry is in a serious condition. As Jerry said, a 90% reduction in traffic. The airlines are a vital part of Canada's economy and a vital part of tying the country together, providing commerce across the country and commerce throughout the world. Our view is that this is of national interest and there must be support to the airlines to ensure that there's a future, a strong future for the airlines, which will strengthen this country and strengthen global commerce, allowing people to travel at the right time and keeping the industry preserved in its rightful place in the world.
Tim?
Great, thank you.
I'll just add that, we all know that a bankruptcy is in nobody's interest, but it harms the employees the most. So it's incumbent upon all of us to do everything we can to prevent that from happening, but also that this is also an industry that if we let the lights go out, it's not an industry where you can just flick them back on again. It's incredibly complex and the overhead costs are immense, and it needs nurturing today in order to provide jobs in the future looking ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's difficult to tell where this is going to land because we have no idea the extent of the pandemic. But the airline industry is predicting it may be 3-4 years, as Rob has said, before there's any sense of consistency. So I think about our members that work for Sunwing. I think about Air Transat, the vacation airlines in this country, destination airlines. When and how many years will it take before they resume some sense of consistent travel? I think of our members that work at Porter Airlines, that the reopening of the Toronto Island Airport and the Windsor Airport, for example, and Ottawa keep getting delayed. So the question is, how long can Porter tolerate the shutdown? And what does it mean? What does it mean for the workers at Porter? So the uncertainty is surrounding around the unknown, the extent of the pandemic. When will people feel comfortable flying? And what does that mean for the thousands and thousands and thousands of workers in every aspect of the industry that are negatively impacted? I raised in my opening remarks the importance of the incredible work done by air traffic controllers across this country, the incredible training, the significant training and contributions. And now, the young people, the young trainees that have so much of their life invested are now being laid off. So this is impacting everyone. That's why we need a plan. And we realize that the plan has to be scientifically based, and we need to err on the caution of safety and in control of the pandemic. But we can't wait any longer because we've lived the bankruptcies. We've lived the carnage, and one thing that is crystal clear, and it's clear by all levels of government, in order to come out of this pandemic, we're going to have to move goods. And we're going to need national airlines in which to do that. We're going to need the infrastructure of which to stabilize the economy in this country. Next question.
Next question will be from David Lundgren at Reuters. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Sorry. So I have a question for, I imagine, Mr. Giguere and Mr. Perry. It's about winter bookings. What are you hearing about the number of people who are actually right now willing to book winter holidays, as in using airlines to fly out to sunny destinations?
Go ahead, Rob. Did you hear it? Did you hear the question? Go ahead, Tim.
If I understood the question, you're asking about bookings and how much travel is actually happening. And I don't have today's numbers. It's clear that the numbers are way down. The demand for air travel today is way down. But what's important is that we create a plan so that travel can happen safely when Canadians are ready to travel. And that takes planning, and that takes recognition that testing and evolving quarantine measures and support for the industry right now, which is struggling to survive, making sure those things happen today so that when the demand for travel does start to pick up, and it is starting to pick up, but when it truly comes back, that we have an airline sector that will be there for the Canadians to travel across this country and abroad.
Rob.
Yeah, go on.
So, just to further that, so broadly speaking, the traffic is down, and this is a question best left for the airlines, but around 90%. As you're aware, there have been routes dropped already that are not sustainable. Obviously, this is something that's serious. Our view is that the airlines in Canada are a vital bridge across Canada, supporting commerce. We're the engine that powers the commerce, not only domestically, but internationally. And that having these routes operated in the long run is something that will strengthen Canada. It will provide jobs, it will provide growth. And the airlines in Canada have a rightful place in the global marketplace. They're recognized as technically the best in the world. They're recognized around the world for their expertise, for the skill of their staff, for the skill of the various team members. And to lose that would be something that would be devastating to Canada and Canadians' economy in the long run. As Tim has said, the airline industry is extremely capital intensive, and that's why the alarm bells are on today. In terms of other countries around the world, Canada is a glaring example of one that has not provided support to its airline industry. Other countries have recognized that the airline industry is vital to the success of a country.
Was there a follow-up question? Was there a follow-up question?
Yeah, my question. Yeah, my question was that actually about winter bookings. Are you hearing anything about bookings that would normally take place in the Canadian winter? People looking to get to sunny destinations?
I think the question was about advanced bookings, and I don't have that information. That'd be a question best left to the airlines themselves.
Well, there's no question. There's only, as we speak, several countries that are frankly still open for where our Sunwing and Air Transat fly. So their bookings are down significantly, to say the least. So if you take a look at the booking numbers, I think it would be consistent right across the board that they're down at least 90%. When the pandemic hit, of course, it was down completely. It moved up to about, about 5%. Now it's up to about 10%. But overall, we are literally years and years away from any sort of consistency. That's why we need to stabilize the industry today.
Thanks.
Next question will be from Derek DeClote at Bloomberg News. Please go ahead.
Hi, can you please outline for us in the most specific terms you can what you're looking for from the government in terms of testing, passengers in and out, and maybe we'll just start there.
So the question is, what specifically are we looking for from the government? And I'll go back to my previous comments, but we're looking for loans, low interest loans, around 1%. We're looking for approximately $7 billion. We're looking for sector-specific support, and we want that support to ensure that employees benefit from that support. Jobs, pensions, benefits are all very important, and we need the government support to recognize that, and I'll ask Jerry to follow up.
We've had a lot of discussions with the government over this. We've probably had 3 large meetings, whether it's over WebEx, whether it's conference calls, where we have spoke to various ministers. So what we're providing today isn't new to government. But what we are feeling based on the angst of our members, the nervousness with the companies, is we are now hitting that critical point, that something has to give. If we look at the 20 major airlines around the world, the 20 major airlines, Canada is the only country that has not stepped forward in a significant way to assist. And that's why we're here today, because it is now critical. When we see the infrastructure starting to shut down, such as the air traffic controllers, then we know that we are in huge trouble here. So we understand that, you know, everybody's not going to be back to work tomorrow. We understand all of that, but we need a plan. And we need to stabilize the companies, and we need to make sure that our the furloughed employees and laid off employees in this country are stable and are in a position to return to work when it is safe to do so. So, as I said in my opening remarks, the $7 billion is consistent with what other countries are doing, but the key piece of the ask is we're not asking for grants, we're talking about loans.
A follow-up, sorry. My question specific to testing. You talk in the release about rapid testing and the quarantine rules. What specifically are you asking the government to do on rapid testing and quarantine?
Go ahead, Tim.
Thanks, Jerry. And I understand the question. Look, we're not medical professionals here. We're aviation workers. We're frontline aviation workers. The tests will be approved when the tests are approved. But we want to make sure that the tests, once approved, and we'd like to see that happen without undue delay, but once approved, we want to make sure that they're available for the traveling public, and so that it doesn't hamper travel within Canada and international travel when Canadians are ready to take that step. And we understand now that the numbers are, they're moving up. The test result numbers are moving up, but we need a plan in place so that when the Canadians are prepared to travel, the testing and quarantine measures that Canada has in place can accommodate that safely for everybody.
On the government's throne speech on the 23rd of September, they talked about the airline industry and how vitally important the airline industry is. So we took it as a message that the government understood that the timing to step up was now. So today's press conference, by and large, is saying to the federal government, we got the message, and we're here to work with you based on the parameters of safety. So this is about elevating the conversation. This is about forcing the conversation with all of the stakeholders to see how we preserve the industry. So we got the message on the 23rd. What we want to do today is take it to the next step, take it to the next level. There's a lot of balloons in the air. There's a lot of industries that are struggling. So today is about ensuring that there is a path to stability once we get through this pandemic. Rob.
Canadians Airlines, as I've spoken before, are recognized worldwide for their technical expertise, their safety record. They're seen as a global powerhouse and a connector of people around the world. In order to maintain that position, we need to protect the industry, we need to save the jobs. That will provide us with a position where we're competitive against other industrialized nations' airlines who have received significant aid. That's key in going forward. It's not just about protecting jobs today, it's about creating future jobs for this country and for Canadians as we move through this pandemic. Canadians expect it, the Airlines of Canada expect it, the employees of the Airlines of Canada expect it. We need to maintain that position in the global marketplace, and on the other side of this pandemic, be at the top of the heap in terms of competitiveness and growth. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
At this time, sir, we have no other questions.
Okay, on behalf of Tim, Rob, and myself, would like to thank you all for participating today in one of Canada's most important industries. My last message is to the Prime Minister and the various ministers. We are asking to be a part of the solution. We're looking to work with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.